What's up? Welcome to the unofficial Tedeschi Trucks podcast. This is episode number 112, and I am Adam Choit. To follow this show, it's at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram, and on YouTube, just search Tedeschi Trucks Podcast. If you're watching, you're already there, so please be sure to subscribe, smash the subscribe button, click the subscribe button, whatever people are saying these days to describe that process. I'm at Adam Choit on Instagram and Twitter if you want to follow me. Please be sure to give the show a positive review on Apple Podcasts. That is appreciated. And subscribe on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. That's helpful for sure. TedeschiTrucksPodcast.com, my domain, forwards to the link tree for all things for this show. AdamChoit.com, forwards to my link tree for all my personal stuff, my short film, my comedy shows that I produce in LA, my other podcast, all kinds of stuff on there. So if you want to check that out, adamchoit.com for all my other stuff. We are going to recap Tedeschi Trucks Band in Savannah, Georgia. They were there last night, March 28th. As of today, it's March 29th, the day after. I guess this place was called Trustees Garden, Savannah Music Festival, Savannah, Georgia. I don't think I've seen really any videos or heard any recordings or anything from this one. And in fact, me and Larry James, who I'm about to bring on, we're kind of looking around for a set list apparently on I suppose it's setlist.fm. It's not accurate. Couple of more quick announcements while they're up on the top of my head. I will get a link up for the Chicago recap, which I'm going to plan to do Sunday, 7 Eastern, and I'll reach out to, I've spoken to a few people about doing that recap, so I'll confirm with those that I've already talked to about Chicago round 2, and I'm looking forward to that. But if you're out there listening or watching right now and you want to hop on because you were at the Savannah show or Durham on, Tuesday night, you can try to reach out to me, I guess either on Facebook or Instagram or something like that. I'll try to pay attention to those things too, and maybe we can bring on some more guests to chat with me and past guest of this show who was on the very last episode, recapping, where the hell were we? I don't even remember, but the point is, let's bring on Larry James to recap Tedeschi Trucks Band's show last night in Savannah. What's up, Larry?
Cheers, Adam.
Oh, cheers. Thank you for coming on again at a moment's notice. I'm starting to build a whole stable of regulars, which is cool. It's fun for me.
Yeah, well, back-to-back guests. I'm honored. Not every day, not everyone who gets the opportunity. So,
well, it makes sense with these doing these recaps. I'm kind of doing my best to follow the band as they are on the road. So it makes sense that geographically, there might be a few repeat guests because people are going to the same shows while the band is in town in their area. So you're kind of just following the band too, and I'm just doing it virtually, remotely, vicariously.
Yeah, we fans of your podcast, of course, me being one of them, really do appreciate you like going through each show and trying to track people down, which is I'm sure is difficult in its own task, but
it is. Yeah. I wish I could dedicate more. Sorry to cut you off, but I wish I could dedicate more time to like tracking people down and booking people. I'll just keep at it. Like I think I'm kind of maybe more in the rhythm of let's do one on the weekend and let's do one during the week, and whoever I can kind of grab, repeat guests or otherwise, like who wants to come on, let's talk about it. So again, continue to open invitations to anyone who's not sketchy and is cool and has some decent command of the English language and loves Tedeschi Trucks Band and has been a fan longer than 5 minutes. But if you're super passionate, maybe people can catch up quick. Like I've spoken to people who got in at all different times on this show.
I'm wondering if we've had a guest that's seen their first show. Have we done that yet?
I don't know. I have to think about it. Maybe,
yeah. But I'm sure they're out there. So, yeah. So last night was amazing. The trip to Savannah was incredible. Savannah itself is a great town. Just kind of still recovering from Asheville on Saturday. the week flew by, and all of a sudden it was Wednesday. So here we are, the day of the show, and really excited to head down to Savannah. Have you ever been there?
I have not. And you came in from where again? So you went to see them in Asheville, and you live
Basically Charleston, South Carolina.
and that's what? How far is that from Savannah?
So Savannah is 2 hours to the south. It's actually, a lot of people call Savannah Charleston's sister city because they're both colonial towns that were established by the British um, in the 18th century, and basically they both have historic nature to them, and they're very similar in a southern way, except for Savannah. It's probably closer to a feel like New Orleans. It's a river city. It's set up along river bluff, and it was laid out in a grid system and has these beautiful parks um, with a lot of 19th century mansions around it. It's a beautiful town for architecture and southern, um, you know, there's great restaurants and all kinds of stuff. It's a great town for tourism. Not as big as Charleston. Charleston has it beaten a little bit on size, but and I think our beaches are a little bit better. But
Not that it's a competition.
not as a competition, but you know,
You
they're a
said
river
sister
town.
sitting. There's sibling rivalry between sister city.
Well, people say that, but you know, as a South Carolinian, I can say that Charleston's better. But I'm sure most Georgians would argue that different. And we'll just say that you know, it's a good rivalry because they're both attractive and welcoming cities. So every time I go to Savannah, it's just incredible. I have such a good time. There's friendly people. I always eat a nice meal. Plenty of places to hang out and lots to see. It's a very welcoming city, and you can drink in the street there, which is pretty nice. I was after the show. I went to a bar, and my friend just walked out with her drink, and I was like, "Wait a minute, you can't go out in the street." And she looked back at me like I was crazy. And the guy's like, "Just put it in a cup. You guys are fine." So we just started walking home with our drinks, and I was like, well, "This is incredible."
This all seems like kind of idyllic in a way, like the way you described, like the serenity of the South and whatnot in these towns. And a lot of them, most of them, or all of the ones that you mentioned, like I have not been to, and I feel like I should get to because I spend most of my life in New York, on Long Island, in and around the city, and then moved to Los Angeles. And not everyone is friendly in those places, overwhelmingly. So it's like, I don't know, that what you're describing has not been my reality at all. That's why I have to seek out, yeah. There are, of course, friendly people in New York, friendly people in Los Angeles, and
Sure.
people you can connect with on, or down to earth and all that. But you just got to kind of look for it.
Right. Southerners are always going to be friendly to you. Just got to watch your back a little bit. It's just kind of the way we are. It's, we are very we have a lot of hospitality, just the nature we are and the way these tourism is in these cities. Honestly, they go over the top for welcoming people, and it's very safe, and but we're small cities. Los Angeles is, how many million people, it's a different vibe, you know, so, but you do need to come and check it out, come see the moss on the trees and check out the historic architecture, and it's amazing. It's amazing. So
Yeah, no, it sounds amazing. I'm picturing it as I hear you describing it. Tell me about getting to the venue and your impressions
yeah,
of it.
so I got to town about 3 o'clock, and went and got a beer by the riverside, and checked out some scenery, walked the streets, and by like basically almost showtime around 5, I walked down it was like Liberty Avenue, and it's about a mile walk through the city, through the squares, and got to the venue, and it was basically on the edge of town. It's a gardens, so they describe it as a gardens, but it's hard to describe exactly the whole landform, but it's basically almost like a grassy knoll that rolls down to a level area that overlooks the river. It's really pretty, and there's also some ruins there from an old fortification, and there's some newer buildings, modern buildings, I believe they use for events. And there's some gardens also, formal gardens, which I didn't see, and I didn't go inside the buildings. But if you go online, I believe you can see some of the photographs. But the description has it as an 18th century formal gardens that was turned over to the city or to private ownership that's been promoting, wellness and education, and there's a full description online. But it's been actively being used as an event center for over 100 years, I believe, well over 100 years. So pretty neat.
Savannah Music Festival.org. I think that's probably the. I'm looking for pictures, but it's all right.
Yeah. Well, the event, the actual the Trusty Gardens is set on a knoll. Like I said, it's a sloping grass hill that goes down to the stage, and so the amphitheater itself is kind of natural, and everyone kind of sets up their chairs on the grassy slope, looking down. And as I walked in at 5 o'clock, it was just starting to get set up, which was kind of nice. I was able to find my way down to the bottom of the stage, and most people at that point were getting something to eat or getting something to drink or just enjoying the nice weather. It was like 65 degrees, 70 degrees, and it was nice and clear and sunny. Still springtime here in the South, so it's very pleasant, not very buggy. It's not sweltering heat yet, even though we know it's coming. So, and there was probably, somewhere between 300 to 400 people at the beginning for the opening band, and then which was very good. The opening band was Eddie 9-Volt. Have you heard him before?
I'm not familiar. What kind of music is that?
It's rock and blues, I would say. I would think that someone with more knowledge of the blues could probably describe it or put it into a genre, a subgenre. But I would say that it's kind of fits that Buddy Guy style, but with a little bit more pizzazz, kind of like a swing blues in a way. No horns, but just the way he plays guitar. He plays I believe a Telecaster, and he just he has a lot of eccentric moves, and points to the crowd and has some backup singers, and I believe it's a 4-piece. So it's a good band. He did very well. He had some good covers. I believe he did Down Along the Cove, which is an interesting cover. He young guy. I believe he's in his mid-20s, maybe early 30s, and apparently he's doing really well with himself, with the band. They mentioned he was breaking through the blues charts with a couple of hits that he had recently. So I was very entertained. It was good warm-up music. Most people were kind of getting into the vibe, and I looked back, and a lot of the people were sitting down and started getting their blankets, started getting comfortable, and it was like, and it was about 15, probably 30 minutes before Tedeschi Trucks showed up, and I was looking around. There was only about 500-600 people there, and I was like, wow, this is a small crowd. It's pretty content. I'm 5 feet from the stage, and there's only 2 people ahead of me, and I was like, I kind of had that. I know you didn't go to any of the shows, but the Fireside had a feel like that. Very small, intimate crowd, and everyone kind of found their space and got settled. So,
and you went solo to the show.
I did. I had some friends in Savannah that were going to the show at different times, so I just kind of walked in myself.
Right, because it's a festival, so people are paying for a ticket for all the acts essentially, or how does that work?
Right. I think, obviously you could buy individual tickets, but they had events throughout the week. Like, I believe it started the previous Friday and it went through last weekend. And then there may have been a show Monday or Tuesday. I know they have shows in different locations, but they have, I believe, a show tonight and then into the weekend. I believe Galactic's playing on Saturday. and Corey Wong is playing on Sunday as the closing act. And I could have that completely mixed up, but there's a few acts every night, basically not necessarily at the Trustee Gardens, but somewhere else, or somewhere other venue in town. So
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say, even if it was like a smaller crowd for this specific TTB show at this festival, like the
mhm.
amount of people that are coming through this festival over the course of however many days it is, to see however many acts and purchasing tickets and or passes in however many different combinations, the festival's probably doing well, and the overall gate in terms of just, I guess, quantity of people, like, is probably equaling a lot, even if like TTB isn't like the central focus of this festival. Or is TTB the central focus? I mean, and I would assume so. I assume
Well,
that, unless otherwise.
well, Buddy Guy played last weekend.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, like I said, I think the weekend has the more national acts, and then there's some probably acts in between during the week that are kind of
I follow.
second tier or third tier or whatever you categorize them as. But I
Sure.
mean, I think TTB just hit it on a Wednesday because that was just fitting for their tour schedule, and they probably would have had a much larger. Well, I don't know. It's a question. It sold out, so it was by showtime there was still less than I think 1,000 people there. So I think it was one of the smallest shows that they had this year
But that's
so
so
far.
fun, and those are that's, I find that so appealing to go to. Like, I obviously want to get to Red Rocks, and especially the Ryman now, and all these like hallmarks of TTB, annual venues or whatever, so to speak. But like, this kind of stuff like appeals to me more. Even if like, I'm not even thinking, it's, in terms of like literal access to the band and just having less people around. Like, that's one thing, but just the whole, I don't know, just in a smaller venue. You always want to see like a big band of your favorite. Like, it's one thing to see like your buddy's band or something at a bar, or a small venue or a show, but when you see like, these big acts, but in smaller venues, occasionally like the Rolling Stones, or like John Mayer would do a local LA bar, or like the
Yeah.
Echo, or Plex, or whatever the hell that place is called, and
Mm.
that's what you want, is to see a big band, a big band in your mind, like it's like, oh, they're
Yeah.
playing there. That's, it's so intimate, just the musical
Well,
aspect of it,
yeah.
especially.
I mean, yeah. Saturday night, I mean, 8,000 people in Nashville in an arena, and then I turn around and it's 4 days later, and I'm in a open air amphitheater with 800 to 1,000 people, and I'm 5 feet from the stage. Just walked up to the spot and had plenty of room dancing. It was great. I mean, and I had wonderful view of the stage, and I think everyone did. That's probably why it wasn't kind of cramped. I don't think there was a bad spot in the whole place, so everyone could have a good vantage point of the stage, and it was really, really welcoming to have that kind of crowd too. So
I feel like almost this, we haven't even talked about the music, but like especially envious, or jealous, or whatever, of this show specifically, just because it seems like such a, like, it's like exclusive access, in a way, exclusive access to an intimate experience, basically, an
yeah,
intimate musical experience.
right, because typically with festivals, you expect hordes of people, flat level, ground. Everyone's staring up and looking at the stage,
And
and
not amongst
like
the most
the
hardcore TTB fans either, because it's going to be draw, perhaps, some other
right,
subcultures.
right. You could get like TTB and then Metallica or whatever. You never know. That's just a train wreck.
Yeah.
But you get all kinds of people at these things. No, but the way that I guess they spaced it out, this was the only show going on for the week, or for that day of the week. It wasn't like they were competing against three other stages. This is the sole thing at the edge of town, and no one was going to go there unless you're going to the venue. So, there was no reason for you to be around that area. And it was very intimate, and I felt very lucky to be there and excited the fact that I could see them in a small setting like that. And I was kind of secretly hoping the set list would reflect something very unique because of that. But I I had a wonderful time. And I thought they played some really unique stuff too. So
What
not
does that what does that mean? What does that mean exactly?
well, you kind of hope for, if it is a small setting and intimate, they are going to pull out something they haven't played for a long time, or like a acoustic. I don't think they're going to do that on this tour with
I see,
so many
because
of them.
there's this, not that there's stakes, so to speak, but like in a smaller, they might feel the not need, but the desire to explore or try something, or take even more bolder risks, because
Right,
it's not the 8,000, 17,000, whatever, high profile. They're not going to
right,
go on for a television appearance and play it. Let's play something we haven't played in God knows how long, and
right.
but
Uh,
they could.
They could, yeah. And I mean, I think casually the band was like that last night. I think Susan was laughing. She missed a couple parts in songs and laughed it off. And she ran late to the mic during one of the songs, and just kind of like laughed it off. And it was casual. Everyone was along for the ride because it was very intimate. I mean, I was down up front and I felt like I was standing with 100 people watching the show. I didn't know, I couldn't feel anyone behind me. So you know, you never felt like you were ever in a big crowd. So lots of opportunities to go get, you know, beer or water or whatever, and go get food and come back. Your space wasn't taken, and it was very intimate. It was a wonderful night. So
I bet
great.
that's great. I was gonna say, I bet like a high percentage of, like, when Susan misses a lyric or comes in late or something like that, is because like she's like loses herself in the music as well. Like, becomes like, what's the word, like when Derek's had doing a face melting solo or something like that. Mesmerized. Like, we all become
Right.
like, they're all there. You can't become like, you can't, when you're in the band, you can't become mesmerized by your bandmates, or can you, and still be able to focus on like what the hell you're doing, and coming at the right times. There's a balance, I guess, is what's needed. I'm sure they all appreciate each other musically, obviously, but in that moment, like, you
In
have
the
to
moment, yeah,
focus.
you do. And like for her, she has so many parts to play, and she's clapping along. And I think that's what happened was for the song was the "When We'll Be Free." She was clapping along, watching the Alicia and Mark sing, and then she started scooting up to the front, realized that she had the next part. So sometimes she does probably want to just sit back and watch the others play. So
Yeah, there's a lot on her plate at these shows, and like and she's taking it to the next level. I don't know if they played it last night, but yes, we will. Like, the stuff that she's
mm,
doing, like, on that, especially like when the song is totally like ramped up to the end, you're almost getting like a little bit of that "I pity the fool" kind of like
right,
preaching a little bit at the end, but it's like it hits different, I think, on an original of
right,
Tedeschi Trucks, and when it's being played live, like, and it's has that spirit 100% of all these blues classics. Like, yes, we will. That's a cover, right? And I mean
yeah,
that as a compliment. But that's all these songs, cover or not, and all these "I'm the Moon" songs. I keep saying
hmm
that, like, I feel like I've known these songs for like 10 years, and we've all been listening to them for forever.
yeah,
Some
um,
of their music doesn't. I don't know if I even think of like so much the chronology of that. I mean, there is a narrative to the albums, and they tell the stories because there's been different lineups, especially. But just thinking about the music, it's like, I don't know. It's all just great music to me. I don't think of it so much as like, oh, this sounds like an old song. This sounds like a new. I don't know.
right.
It all it
Well, I
all
mean,
sounds it all stays fresh to me, so it's like hard for me to like, I don't know, to
yeah, I mean,
differentiate 2014 from 2017. It's like it's all just
just
great
all
TTB stuff.
all TDPV stuff, right? And I'm right there with you. I mean, it's definitely woven in the fabrics of the same type of genre of music that we all enjoy, and we've enjoyed our whole lives. You've been exposed to it through your dad, and I had friends and growing up and my parents playing music too. I mean, it's familiar but it also fresh. So that's what makes it like really current and relevant too. It's not like we're just going down the same road and that's already been beaten. And I really appreciate that with them. And they almost have to, because they want to keep the music alive, with the blues or with the rock and roll or funk or whatever, or soul. But they have to do it in a way that it's fresh and it's contemporary, So, because I mean, if you meet somebody on the street and say, "Hey, check out this band, Tedeschi Trucks. You ever heard of them?" They're probably going to say no or whatever. And if you play for them, they're going to first say, "Oh, it sounds a lot like this guy or that guy," But if they keep listening, they're engaged. And so I think that's the key, is to keep people engaged.
It's funny to hear you describe that, because what I'll do is I'll say Tedeschi Trucks, not expecting the person to know. Occasionally they surprise me and they know, but it is a low percentage, as you might expect, especially if you're asking more people on the younger side, I suppose. But then I'll say, do you know the Allman Brothers? And that could be the beginning of a conversation, talking about Derek, obviously. Or I'll say Susan Tedeschi, because sometimes you say Tedeschi, people don't even hear what the hell you're saying. Then the name is kind of a lot of... it's a name that you could miss through, I don't know, easily, I feel like. But that's like my strategy for getting into conversations, I guess, is like, you've heard of the Allman Brothers? And then names, then if they're like, maybe, then I'll start singing Ramblin' Man or something. No, I don't do that.
That'd be interesting. I'm still waiting for you to play that guitar behind you.
Oh, yeah, it's funny you say that, because I feel like I'm waiting for someone to ask me to play the guitar. Maybe I'll do that eventually. You know what I do want to do, and maybe I could even bring on other fans to do this with me, is do a reaction video, because those are popular online. But I'm not really into pausing the music and analyzing. I'm more into listening to it, being in the moment, and then coming back on here and talking about it. But people do like those, and that could be fun to break down something. Even I think legally, I guess I could probably do anything. I'm not even sure how that works if you're just playing a YouTube video and commenting on it. But we could do a live video, and even just talking about Ed Gendelman's, recent Ed Gendelman, Sean Roach fan shot thing or something like that could be fun. But yeah. The hamster is in the wheel, as always. I got the set list here.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, Bradley Strickland. I appreciate it.
Oh, nice. I was looking at the Newark, New Jersey show. That's kind of something like that, sort of.
Where is it? Why is it not showing? Oh, there we go. Take a second. Go. The internet is slower than my brain here. I believe this is accurate. Does this look accurate to you?
This is 100% accurate. The only thing that's not noted is the soul sacrifice out of I Want More.
Yeah.
Which is, they don't always put that on there.
And the date and all the information is correct. How about that too? The right date, the Eddie 9V, 9V to support. Is his name 9V? I'm gonna ask ignorant questions now that I should have known probably in advance, in addition to having pictures of the venue prepared. But is it 9V, 9V, and is that one person, or is that the act's name?
Actually, they do have a edit there. It's Savannah Music Festival. Is that what
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! There's so many Well, there's only one direction we can go in with that. But
I was gonna say, I wasn't gonna really.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's what else is there to say that people aren't saying in their heads when they see that and read that? But maybe that's why this wasn't posted or hasn't been posted yet. It's let's fix that. Anyway, I hope we don't get anyone in any trouble for sharing the the Savannah Music Festival set list here. But here, my dear, playing with my emotions, ain't that something? Midnight Harlem, part of me. I'm the Moon Gin House Blues. I wish I knew how it feels to be free. Walk on gilded splinters. Take me as I am. Stand back. Just won't burn. Outside Woman Blues. I Want More. And there was a soul sacrifice with that. And Show Me. That was for the audio listeners. So if we jump around, you can, you know where we're at. We don't have to go song by song, but I'll let you steer and just tell me what you kind of already touched on some things a little bit
Yeah.
already.
Well, as a set whole, like I think it was fantastic. We got some of the standards that we've been getting this tour. There's something new, there's something old, there's something borrowed, there's something blue, I guess you could say. There's some great covers. It flowed really well. There wasn't any kind of slow parts that weren't, unexpected. There wasn't any pauses in between songs. They kind of had to rush this many songs throughout. I think it was a 2-hour set. It started a little after 8 and ended at a little after 10. You know, Overall, I think it was a very solid night with a good, solid set. People have been arguing back and forth: is one set better than two sets? My opinion is that, not that anyone's asking, but I enjoy the two sets just because you get more of it. But one set can present you a better show if you're not into all the songs. But for like this set, I knew it all from what I just saw in Nashville. I was very familiar with some of these songs now, and I'd sung and danced and knew every word, and I knew what was coming next, kind of sometimes, but and I was surprised in other parts. So I thought overall, great time. So
Yeah, I don't know if it's the songs or just looking at a one set list. It just looks like this is the train is leaving the station. You better get on because this is going to be a nonstop. Like it feels like just very like the train's leaving this. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it just seems like a very solid, like explosive in some regard. Like
yeah,
you're getting Midnight in Harlem, but you're also getting a Stand Back and an Outside Woman Blues and I
yeah,
Want You and Soul Sacrifice, like very powerful a generally upbeat set list.
yeah. And I would say that, like, if you had to split it, I would say it's somewhere between Gin House Blues and I Wish I Knew How to Be Free. I mean, that's kind of your break right there, because those sections of the set, I mean, kind of started in a different direction. Like the first 6 songs were good, but they're one of those songs. They're grouped in a way that they're hits one after the other. In fact, Midnight in Harlem had no intro. It was one of the faster ones I've ever seen. So if we want to go start to finish, we can say that Here My Dear is pretty standard. You're going to get a wonderful, well executed song right into Playing with My Emotions. Again, another upbeat song, and right into Ain't It Something that is so funky. And I think I mentioned last time, the pairing of those two songs really go well. I think that's one of the best back-to-back songs from the new albums.
That's how it is on the album with those two, is it?
I don't know. That's a great
I
question.
think it might be. I think you might have
I
got
mean,
that
I know
correct.
Crescent so well because we've seen it live several times, and it seems like it's promoted more,
But
with
I've
live.
listened to. Yeah, I was gonna say I know I've listened to all the albums so many times, so I could hear. As you can anticipate what song is coming next as you're listening to it in context. But off the
Right.
top of my head, I'm like looking at the titles of the songs. I'm like, do those two follow each other? Are they on the same album? I know they're not on
Yeah.
the. I know they're on the second and the third ones.
No, if they aren't, they should be, because they do pair well together. And maybe that's just what's happened to the organic nature of the live shows. They bring songs on and see which works well with each other.
Yeah, no,
But
it does follow. Playing with My Emotions and then Ain't That Something.
okay, so well, it's
Yeah.
part of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we got to trust ourselves a little bit
oh, that's
sometimes.
right. Yeah, we're experts here. Damn it.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I
Right.
wouldn't know off the top of my head that All the Love follows Playing with My Emotions. But if I'm listening to that, I'm like, All the Love next, All the Love next, is All the Love coming next? Especially if I'm listening to the studio version. Yeah, but I'm sure
Yeah, now I
Go on.
remember. That's the second song on the second album, correct? Is that right? Anyway, we don't need
Yeah,
to
those
talk
two.
about song. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So then we got I was at three Mike songs in a row with the Gin House. I wish I knew. He has a prominent
And,
part on that, and
yeah,
Gilded
and killed it.
Splinters.
Yep, yep. So I backing up though, I wanted to emphasize that Midnight Harlem was short with no intro, but obviously well played, well executed solo by Derek. But I wanted to back up and mention that with Playing with My Emotions, Derek has the big solo and it's incredible. And then Ain't That Something is, Gabe playing really well, but then I believe that Susan's on a wah wah and it's really her solo. So I think that's why the two flip flop. I may have that mixed up, but I'm pretty sure that Playing with My Emotions is Derek's solo and
Yeah, and then
Ain't
I
That
think Ain't That
Something has
Something.
is all Susan. She's the solo and she's doing the wah wah the whole time on it. And it's a great way to see both of them perform equally on the same level. I think, you know.
Yeah, there's times when I'm listening to the music and you're kind of losing yourself in it, and you're not thinking about who's the person playing the music, who's the person behind the sound. Yeah, there's times I'm like, oh yeah, Kebby's doing it. Look, this the Kebby's this, But there's other times I'm just hearing cool sounds and I'm like, I actually have to think, who's doing is that? Oh, that's Susan. Oh, which horn is that
Right.
again? Like, and
Yeah,
because you're
yeah,
so into I don't know, just into the music, for lack of
yeah,
a better way to describe it.
yeah,
You've lost yourself in the music. You're fully engaged in a natural, organic, fun way. And I'm not thinking, oh, that's a great solo by Susan. I'm just like, oh, that sounds cool. I'm like, oh yeah, that's Susan, that's Derek, that's so and so. Like,
yeah. I mean, the horns play. So I was able to watch them more last night because I was close to the stage, and you could see everybody so well last night. Again, I'm sure from any spot in the place you could see it, but it was funny. I was watching Gabe a little bit. He chews gum the whole time,
the
and
whole
he said,
time, it
"Well, I
sounds.
think the whole time he was chewing, unless he just does that, just to keep in the line and stuff. But he's out there chewing gum. It's pretty funny. So yeah, I think Elizabeth had a nice solo on Playing with My Emotions, which I think was part of her jamming too. So
When the band starts going into Midnight in Harlem, and it's like fairly quickly after whatever the first chord or whatever is strummed,
yeah,
do you notice people's faces and people perking up and clapping and applause as like that? You hear them notice that, and was that always I always feel like that's a moment when you listen back or watch them play Midnight in Harlem.
yeah. I mean, I've seen it almost at every show that I've been to, and it's usually the biggest thing for the majority of the crowd. But last night, I mean, it came in the fourth song, and it came fast, so people weren't expecting just the drop of Derek playing the opening riff, and it's like, oh, okay, it was basically sunset at that point, and it was really nice, and it barely could you see the moon, but it was people are like, all right, here we go, we've got a full night ahead of us, and fourth song is the one of the most top popular songs, so
Yeah, when you hear we kind of talked about when they started the show at Midnight Horn, but when you hear it early in the set with no intro, it's like okay,
yeah,
buckle up. We're packing in a punch tonight,
tonight, yeah.
which maybe means more songs and less jamming, but I don't know, not necessarily, and that could be something that's kind of a little bit in flux, but. I believe that. I mean, this is the set list that was typed out, and I don't see any X's on it, and I don't believe there were any X's or substitutions other than the soul sacrifice. So,
No, I mean, I don't think anything was, well, we can talk about it later, but I think that you have to make time when you have a 2 hour set like this and it's a festival crowd. I've heard Derek on interviews say that you do have to play a crowd. You can't, if you got a theater show and it's intimate, you can slow it down, play
I
a little,
see.
play some more slower songs, or you've got some time. But for a festival set that's got a hard deadline you can't extend, and people are expecting to to move around and,
Right. No,
have
there
more.
is no idle win. There is no Passaquan here.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. Clearly, I knew going in there wasn't going to be that. I mean, it's just not the crowd. I think it was a very, I think this music festival caters to, more wealthy people. I didn't see a lot of 20 somethings, there with, backpacks and ready to stay all day and drink. This is more of an evening. That's why I had like the fireside kind of feel to it.
Right,
People.
and just looking at the set list, like thinking about which songs can they extend, and it's kind of in some ways the last four, so they kind of like gave themselves that time at the end. Like, how many times does Susan want to go around on Just Won't Burn? Outside
Right.
Woman Blues, how many times do they want to go back and forth? Like jam, like they open with
Yeah.
them jamming, and then like there's a bunch of call and response with Susan and Derek on Outside Woman Blues, and I Want More, and,
Right.
and Soul Sacrifice. That's probably was the longest one in the whole set, maybe even
Yeah.
longer in duration than Show Me. I'm not probably typically is a longer song. Like all in
Right.
all, what they do with it and how they extend it. And again, Show Me, the final song, that's the last one, so it's they're gonna throw the kitchen sink in terms of jamming out with the horns
Jamming
and all
out.
that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it looks like they even Stand Back. Like, how much did they want to extend that? And they didn't do a Mr. Clean or anything with.
They didn't. That's what I
Yeah.
was going to say. Like with that one, I mean, I was expecting it, but then when they just broke it off, I was like, okay, they're conserving time here. They're going to put more mustard on something, at the end here. And, we went into Just Won't Burn, and that was fantastic. Again, I saw it on Saturday, but, both versions were fantastic. She introduced it this time with mentioning that I guess there's a reissue of her album, It Just Won't Burn, and it was 25th anniversary. And she kind of giggled, you know, allocating that she was feeling old in that moment. And she actually mentioned during the show, I don't know when it was, maybe before Gin House, that, she was saying that this is where they started TTB. It was the first live show in 2010 was the Savannah Music Festival. So she was like, this is where we all got started, and, it's great to be back. And, it's been a long journey. So it was a lot of fun, something like that. I can't remember what she said, but
That
she
was
was
probably
really,
it.
yeah. She was very energetic last night, and very loose, and, thanked the crowd continually and introduced all the players like she always does. So, I thought she was a lot more casual and laid back than she was on Saturday in Nashville. And I guess the intimidation of 8,000 people in an arena versus, 900 to 1,000 in an open field outside in a comfortable environment on Wednesday night, there's a different vibe there.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, and I don't know if it's like an intimidation and per se, but yeah, it's just like you present yourself in a different way, and you kind of just you act a different way because it is a different situation. 8,000 people versus 1,000 people, or whatever the case
Yeah.
may be. And it's funny, we're going back to hear you talk about how like even Derek was saying how like you have to play a different set list for a festival versus like maybe a standard TTB show, two sets or otherwise. But I like totally am not even like thinking in those terms at all. I'm just like, oh, here's kind of like I'm just thinking about what have they played lately,
Yeah.
and comparing it to that, and that's it. I don't give a shit who's going to this festival. I'm just curious about
Right.
what songs are going to be, what's coming on YouTube and what's coming on archive.org. Like what can I dive into? That's
Right.
yeah,
No,
what's coming.
well, they won't take, you got to think about it though. Like, I'm sure their Jazz Fest show will be fantastic, but it'll probably look a lot like this. They'll throw in some covers. They'll have their main show, but I doubt they'll play Passaquan at Jazz Fest. Just if they do, then hats off to them. But I guarantee you they don't. Just saying it. But it would be hard to pull out a 22-minute jam song like that, in a festival setting like that.
Yeah, and Jazz Fest is not as much, I guess, like a jam band centric festival.
Right. Right.
It's
I mean,
more like pop. It's more broad.
it's more broad.
It's called Jazz Fest, but I know it's more broad these days.
and you got a lot of intent listeners out there in the audience. You're not just entertaining an evening crowd of people that walk down from their homes. It's people come from all over the world. It's a big crowd. So with a lot of music critics in the audience, and you never know who's going to be in attendance. So, but I could be totally wrong. I mean, they could open the show with Pasquale. That'd be amazing. We
Yeah.
would go nuts if we were there. But
Yeah, I
let me
mean,
be wrong.
it's like you never know. Like just you putting these thoughts into the universe might sway them in one direction or the other. I don't know which way. Like maybe to the. I mean, like this band does kind of have a sense of humor, like
Oh, it does.
about some
Yeah.
things, and they don't. I don't not take themselves too seriously, but just thinking about how they approached Midnight in Harlem, like it's their like, they could easily only pull that out for encores and have dramatic intros and never, you know what I mean? They
Yeah.
could do that with the song, but they're like, nah, we're gonna. They use their songs different. They're not. They're very respectful of their music, but they're not like precious with it in the sense it's like nothing. It's like untouchable. They're willing to explore and try different things with their songs and not be like, oh, we have to play everything the same certain way or put it in a certain part of the set. Like they're
Hmm.
they're artists.
Yeah. Yeah. And they keep it in rotation, things in rotation, but they also change it up on a longer scale. Like you're saying, they don't feel the pressure to completely change it up every night. And they're artists. Most people don't. You know, Bands that do are really unique. I mean, I was telling somebody I saw the Allman Brothers 4 years in a row, and they didn't have a single song change in their set list. It was like from 1991 to 1994. I guess towards the end there was a couple of new songs from the Bring It All Back album, but um, or excuse me, Where It All Begins, one of those two albums. But anyway, the set changed only by a few songs. So for what they do, I think is very entertaining for their fans.
Yeah, and that's from what I would guess and gather, like that's how most bands are, and most successful bands are to some degree. They have long stretches with very similar or identical set lists for sometimes years at a time, and fans
Yeah.
want to hear hits as you go from city to city and the popular stuff, and you want to play what you're comfortable with and what
Mhm.
works and goes well. I kind of like get that, but I don't think I could ever do a podcast about a band like that. Like, 'cause this is just like so much more exciting and interesting to me to like you don't know what you're gonna get, and like we kind of talked about last time, it's like even just playing Crescent and then playing Crescent again, the whole thing, like at a bunch of shows, like so far even this year they probably played it maybe 4, 5, 6 times or so far in 2023, like those 5 songs in a row, maybe more, maybe less, I'm not sure, but like the fact that like the songs grow and the songs grow on you and the band loves playing the songs, and it's like the execution somehow gets better and more precise, and like we were saying, the band gets better, so that's like what you're getting different is you're getting a different, better, you know totally organic version of something you may have heard in the past, but for the most part you don't know what you're going to get with these set lists, like you
Right.
know
Right. And I
there's
mean,
always variables that there's always enough variables that keep the hardcore fan 100% engaged, and 100% engaged is an understatement.
right. And I think for someone, probably like us, I mean, there's enough you can kind of read between the lines too. I mean, you could look at this set list and look at Saturday and go, oh gosh, they repeated 4 songs or 5. Let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 songs out of that set list, in 3 nights. But to me, the experience was completely different. The way the arrangement, these songs were, I mean, the songs themselves were the same, with the jams being, somewhat shorter or longer, but the way that they're put into the set list, the way they're performed, the way the set is a whole, like, Here My Dear starts off a very slow, and eventually builds up to the jam, and then Playing With My Emotions brings more energy, and then you keep it funky with Ain't That Something, and Midnight gives you back some melancholy, but part of me was great. Alicia had her part too in that. You get to see her sing, and it just flows different.
I know
So
I totally get what you mean. It's a whole like unique experience, and like I'm asking you to put it into words, which is a challenging thing. I get that, and when
yeah,
I try to do it myself, but it really is an indescribable feeling, and that's really what music is. It's like an indescribable feeling,
hmm
and the band is taking you on a journey and leading the way, like as
yeah,
you have these emotional releases, experiences. Like, I don't know. I could scientifically describe what the hell's going on. That's actually maybe someone I should get on, like on the podcast, talk to like a musical, like how affects people physiologically, physically. Like that might be
yeah,
an interesting person to, and if they know Tedeschi Trucks podcast, like I think,
yeah,
or Tedeschi Truck Band, or the podcast too, obviously, like that, I think that would make that conversation that much better. Or the
yeah,
concept of the slide guitar, like, because like obviously we always talk about how like the vocal quality, I think, of Derek's playing, is what especially moves us. And like,
hmm yeah. He definitely moved me last night. But yeah, I mean, there's a point there where it hits your brain differently, and I think what makes a concert really unique is like how well it's presented. And that's what makes it unique to everyone when there's one set out there to kind of capture the entire essence of the band. And I'm going to be very cliche here, and I don't know if Adam, if you're a Grateful Dead fan, but everyone refers to the Cornell 1977 Cornell New York show as the Grateful Dead's quintessential perfect start to finish show, which is kind of ironic because there's a couple of flubs in the show, but it's played just perfection. Like the music is just perfection. So, where do you strive that to get that in each concert setting, or is it something where just everyone goes to the show and it works, for that one instance? So, you know, I think all concert goers or any people that listen to live music a lot kind of aim to get that feeling, regardless if it's the same order or the same number of songs from last night or the 2 nights ago. If it's played well in a musical unit and it flows and it captures the essence of the band, to me, it's perfect. I really enjoy it that way.
yeah, I feel like I mean, I know, like for me, like I get that feeling every time I go to a Tedeschi Trucks Band show, and that's like what keeps me coming back. And I get that feeling just from listening to the music, and just
Yeah.
from, I mean, you could get that feeling like just from hearing a part of a song, like as you walk through a restaurant or like on a commercial or something like that. You kind of like get just like a little bit of part of that, and like that feeling like is what
Yeah.
keeps you coming back for sure. No,
Definitely.
and no, I'm not super duper actually familiar with the Grateful Dead history catalog. I actually haven't had like a Grateful Dead phase or anything like that. But what is it about
Okay.
that specific show that people call it the quintessential #1 live Grateful Dead show?
Well, I think not to go all, we can listen to a dead podcast about that, but it's one of those shows that was widely circulated amongst tapers, and it was the quality was very good. So I
The
believe it was
quality of
one
the
of
recording,
well, this is 1977, so
right?
at the time, people didn't have access to the best quality stuff, and they didn't always release soundboards. There wasn't nugs.net, and so for a long time, that was the tape that everyone had, that you could hear the songs that you wanted to hear, and there was particular the music once it got you know played, it was just phenomenal. It was, again, I'm trying to describe this without pointing out the actual songs,
Yeah,
but
I'm gonna dive in.
you
I'm gonna
know
dive into that because I kind of like been rattling in my brain a little bit, like, oh, like, and I've asked a couple of Grateful Dead fans, like I'm
mm,
not super duper familiar with the catalog other than maybe what could come up on Pandora and some hits and things TTB have done, and things that I've come across. But like, what would be a good start for like an era or a live show to like, to if I wanted to go straight
yeah,
down that rabbit hole, like get my
It's
feet wet a little bit.
you know, I don't want to promote other podcasts on your podcast, but I
Do
guess
it.
it doesn't. It's not a conflict, but there is, and so there was a series called the Dick's Picks, and it was Dick Levanta, who was was actually a fan of the band, and he traded a lot of tapes, and he eventually became the master of their vault and helped archive their music. Well, he would pick these select shows, and then they would release it as a live show. Um, and it happened throughout I believe in the early 90s, and up into they still do it today. But anyway, there's a podcast that goes through all 36 of the volumes, and it goes through all the different eras of the Grateful Dead. And I think it's entertaining the way these two guys talk about each show, but it introduces you to them. Now we're talking about the Grateful Dead on a Tedeschi Trucks
It's
podcast,
okay.
but people have probably left by now, So at least I didn't mention Fish, right, or anything like that. But no, I would look into that. I think it's called 36 from the Vault. Um, it's a really interesting way of, going through their catalog very quickly. So it's 36 episodes. So
Cool, cool. Well,
yeah,
yeah, no, it's all good. I did ask, and I have taken up quite a bit of your time already, and you're on
yeah,
East Coast time, and I definitely
yeah.
appreciate you coming on again, like for the second time in the last week or whatever it is.
No
Anything
worries,
else?
man.
Yeah, anything else about the set list that stands out?
Uh,
I feel like I could
I
talk about
mean,
this set list all night.
yeah,
Like just
I
Stand
know.
Back is such a groove, and I keep staring at it. Maybe it's
I
because
love,
my eye
yeah,
line is looking right at it, and Take Me As I Am is one of my favorites from the new album. Just so stirring and moving, and I love that one especially.
yeah. I hope a good recording comes out of it. I know there's going to be a lot of good video because people could have access to the stage. Basically, everyone was in view of the stage, but Stand Back was a first for me. I loved seeing that, and it was rocking. And then basically all the way through the rest of the set, Outside Women Blues had huge back and forth between Derek and Susan, and I Want More had a really nice exchange between Gabe and Derek. Where he gets up right up close to him, and they feed off each other and play a little cat and mouse. Something he used to do with Kofi a lot, and I thought that was really entertaining. The Soul Sacrifice was stupendous and just blew me away. So Stand Back was my Easter egg of the night. I was pretty happy to hear that, and I actually hadn't seen Gin House Blues either, so that was cool. Overall, I thought it was a great show. I mean, what more can you ask for?
I'm sure when they went into Stand Back, also you had some of the Allman Brothers fans like who were there, who like immediately
Yeah,
when they recognized that, like people perk
yes,
up for those things. Yeah, for the
yeah,
Dead stuff, for the Allman Brothers stuff, and
yeah,
for Midnight in Harlem, and
yeah,
for I think any Derek and the Domino stuff a lot of the time. Also,
yeah, yeah.
those I think get the biggest pops. It's a good. I'm wondering what song would you say of all the Tedeschi Trucks Band originals, maybe other than Midnight in Harlem, once like people go at like what gets the biggest pop once it becomes recognized. And I mean it's almost like, oh, maybe there is nothing, but I think that's a compliment actually, because all the
Yeah,
songs are so powerful and loved, including all
yeah,
the new ones by all the hardcore fans, and I think just anyone who's come across the new stuff loves the new stuff too. So it's like I don't know if there's any one song that there's always a few people who are out there gonna woo and hoot and holler, and you could
hmm
hear some hardcore fans yelling when they go into something that they haven't played in a while, or when it's a rarity or something like that. So that
yeah,
gets pops. But like I don't know, there's not really any other songs I think originals that like we favor or fans tend to like favor or get more excited about than others, other than something maybe you haven't heard in a while that
right.
you know is going to be a special thing. Like,
I would say Bound for Glory might be the close runner-up. I mean, I think it's just the age of it, and if you've seen them in the past 10 years, you probably caught it, because I used to play it more, and it's such a dramatic and a fantastic, has a great peak and just brings home every aspect of the band. I've always said that if you get a slow Susan song with a killer Derek guitar on the part, solo on the end, that's kind of like the quintessential song. But that one actually brings in all the band, with the vocals and all the other aspects of the band. I really enjoy that one. So anyway, that might be your runner up.
Yeah, I could see that. And if it's
Yeah.
another question I sometimes think about because I'm a nerd, at least with this stuff, is like, what is this signature song? And like again, like Midnight Harlem is their signature song in a lot of ways, but like, what would
Yeah.
be like the number two signature song? But there's
Right.
different. That depends on how we're gonna define that. Because like you can even say like, Do I Look Worried? Which I think maybe they actually haven't played in like two or three shows potentially.
Right.
Like that would be like a long time, I think, for like
Well,
I think they've played that more than anything. I would have to check the
yeah.
setlist.fm, but this thing's not accurate, so I can't trust you setlist.fm. Don't trust they say don't trust Wikipedia, don't trust setlist.fm,
Yeah. I
but
actually kind of secretly thought I was going to get a "Don't Know What It Means" as an opener last night because they haven't played that yet. This year. I
no,
don't think they have.
they have a
Oh, a
couple of times, but
couple
only like
times.
two. I think like two or three times.
Yeah, it's been pretty low.
Yeah, and they have gone into
The letter.
the letter, yeah, the letter
Yeah.
afterwards, but not every time, and they haven't played that much either. It's like
No.
I've been saying, like that's what I'm most excited for, the thing that they haven't played in whatever they haven't played in a while.
Right.
Like
Right.
that's what I get most excited for. But like,
Yeah.
obviously we all love everything. Cool. Anything else we need to cover? You want to mention? What was the vibe of the
Um,
crowd when they were leaving? Everyone seemed happy,
Everyone
satisfied, in
seemed
good
happy. Yeah.
spirits.
Everyone was great. I mean, like I said, I met up with some friends. We went to bars and hung out, and every place I went, people were raving about the show, and people had nothing but positive things to say. People were being, joyous and celebrating and drinking, and I definitely was out way past my bedtime. Savannah's like, I think John Cusack said it right. It's like Gone with the Wind on mescaline. So there's a lot of there's a lot of crazy nightlife and bars are just kind of out there, and so you could spend your whole evening venturing in and out of these little hole in the walls. Actually, I met someone, not to drag this out, but I met someone in the bar who she saw my shirt. I had the Tedeschi Trucks shirt, sweatshirt on, and she was like, "That's Derek Trucks, right?" And she's like, "I was like, yeah. Did you go to the show?" And she's like, "No, I didn't go to the show, but my ex-boyfriend grew up with Derek, and they played guitar together, and he was really good, and Derek was really good, and they fed off each other." And the guy and I was trying to get the guy's name, and she mentioned a Benji, you know, or pronounced it different, Benjai or Benjai or something like that. But you just never know who you're going to run into. She didn't go. She's not a fan of them. She likes the music, of course, but was more familiar with this other guy and like the story behind Derek. So I guess Georgia, and it's not too far away, from Jacksonville. You're going to have these kind of run-ins with people.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time I was in Savannah in 2020 and 21 seeing the band, I ran into a woman at the bar after the show who played me a recording of Greg Allman saying goodnight to her in her phone. She was a friend of Greg Allman's, and they had a conversation. This is like 2 months before he died. This recording, and so she kept it on her phone and just to hear his voice, and they were friends. And she played it for me, and just happened to have a conversation about this. So, Georgia and the South, there's friendly people, and it's crazy who you'll run into next. So
Yeah, and because Derek has been at this, especially Susan too, but in the South
yeah,
especially, but like obviously Derek, especially in the South, has been at it so long. Like people have been just fans, let alone knowing him personally, just fans of his since he's like an adolescent, and
yeah,
have been following his solo career and Derek Trucks Band and
right,
all his work with TTB and the Allman Brothers over the years. Like those people probably have tons and tons of stories, and I hope to get like keep going down this rabbit hole and get more and more people who just like love Tedeschi Trucks.
yeah. I mean, he's
P-
40. What is he? 43,
yeah, I
43,
think
and
so.
he
Yeah,
started playing at 12 or 11, 12.
professionally, essentially.
Yeah, yeah. So what is that math?
A long ass time since the early. I mean, I think of it like as since the
You know,
early '90s. That's how I like
yeah,
frame it. Like people have how long have you been following Derek and Susan for Tedeschi Trucks? Oh, since 2010. Oh, since like early 2000s. Since like Soul Stew. Oh, since the late '90s. Since almost. No, I saw him playing a bar
yeah,
in Atlanta with these barfly guitar dudes who he was surpassing. He
yeah.
had surpassed already.
Yeah, I mean, I first saw him in '94. So, and we always,
Right,
like I
there you
said,
go.
yeah,
You're one of
yeah,
them.
I saw him definitely, and we
But I'm
definitely went
sure
back.
I'm sure we talked about this
We
probably
already
the
capped
first
that
time you
up.
were on.
Yeah.
That's why we don't need to go if anyone wanted Larry's history with all musical history.
No,
We
no,
can listen to those episodes,
you
yeah,
could,
for sure.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I think that 30-year career for Susan too. She's had a long career too.
Right.
So
Again,
if
like
you
so
can
many
do,
fans in New England, like who've been following her career since the mid and early '90s too. She's older than Derek, obviously.
yeah,
So like,
yeah,
there's
she
even
is
more roots that go further back with her music. So I don't
right.
know. Hit me up if you were a childhood friend of Susan.
Yeah, any of your listeners out there, please, I would love to hear that. So yeah.
What's that? What'd you say?
I'd love to hear those stories too. Yeah, just to see how the evolution. It'd be interesting to get someone. I don't know too much about Susan's early life, so her growing up in New England and that kind of stuff. It'd be interesting to get someone on here.
Yeah.
I feel like her brother was associated with the Facebook page at one point. Um, if I could be bashing that too. So
Yeah, we'll get them all, man. On eventually. The entire band, their entire extended families, like the
yes,
the crew, their extended families, all the
yeah,
fans, and fans who introduce fans. Like it's just I don't know. People ask me like sometimes like, oh, you do a podcast about one band? Like, how do you even come up with things to do episodes about it? And I feel like I can't even keep up with the band on the road. And I want to do reaction videos
right,
and
yeah.
talk to like the fucking
Oh man,
doorman who works at where they
at,
it's
at the,
fucking anybody
yeah,
who loves
yeah,
this band or knows them, has been following them a long time and loves the music. Obviously, is the number one thing that I
yeah.
think that matters more than anything, even obviously than just
Well, it
knowing
keeps
them
you going.
personally.
It
Right.
keeps you going, keeps us engaged, and so I guess it's a great time to say thank you, Adam, for doing this. Like personally, taking time out of your own schedule and opening up your home to all these people. And
Just this part
I,
of it.
well,
I
this
know
is
what you
just
mean.
part.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying
yeah,
like
you too.
it's just one of those things. It takes a lot to do, and I know it's hard to organize. And please let us know how we can help you better it because it's fantastic. It's a wonderful outlet to have, and we're lucky because it's not the Rolling Stones. What kind of access do you get? This you get to bring on band members and fans and people that are affiliated with it, and we've talked to crew members, and it's and people like the media guy that you texted earlier. I
Yeah,
mean, just
Bradley, yeah. Got the
Bradley. Yeah,
set
I mean, it's
list.
just I feel like it brings us all closer. So thank you again for that.
Oh, you're welcome. I appreciate all that. It means a lot. I'm not crying. You're crying. No, and honestly, you asked what you could do, but you're doing it by giving me your time and the stories. Because like I don't know, I'm selfishly in a sense doing it for me because like I feel some serious FOMO or fear of missing out and like from
Yeah.
not being what's the word I'm looking for, not being at the shows like.
Or just being a West Coaster, I guess you could say.
Right. So like I want to live vicariously the best I can through conversations about the shows, through listening to the audio, through watching videos, through just like imagining in my own mind what it would be like. And
Yeah.
I'm not joking. Like it totally has like helped. Like I don't like
It's your
feel
therapy.
as bad that I wasn't at the Ryman because I feel like I kind of was at the Ryman and kind of could feel like not even just the rhyming. I'm getting the experience of like what the whole these fucking towns, what's going on in these towns, and
Right.
from beer gardens and breweries to tourism to young people to
Yeah.
sunsets to the whole vibe I'm getting for all this. It really is coloring in the whole experience for me. So like
Well, good. Well,
it's
good.
it's it's oh man, I got to get a real life. No, we're working on it. It's all good. It's been fun. I'm gonna let you go
Yeah.
though. I'm gonna let you go.
Yeah.
I'll do my little outro
Okay.
here, and
Yeah, yeah.
we'll talk
I want to
soon.
say one more thing before you
Do
do
it.
that. Just I, you know, some people on Facebook have noticed that I've put up this day in TTB. It's a pet project of mine, and I just want to say thank you for all the people that have liked it and read it, and I apologize openly for the editing. I self edit, so if you read it and there's a lot of mistakes and issues, just ignore them.
Is that something
But
you're gonna
thank you.
publish or something like that?
No, no,
Almost like a
no.
calendar? Or?
No, no, no. I do it. I just go back through history and find. I'm a big fan of music history, so you know, I scroll through a calendar of dates, and I usually do one every 2 to 3 months, and I'll just pick a show that falls on a certain day. Like I could do tomorrow, March 31st. I think is that today though? No, it's tomorrow. Anyway, I could pick that day and just look through. You know, the re-listen app shows you what day in history, you know, all the days that happen, all the shows that happen on that day. And I pick one, I listen to it, and go through the history of the band at the time and try to find some old interviews, and I read up on it, and I try to put together some sort of package so someone could really appreciate the whole essence. Kind of like what you're saying, you know, it's the closest we could get to going back to the day of. So
Right.
I don't know if you've ever read them before, but they're I do it like every 2 to 3 months.
I got
So
you.
it's a lot
So
of fun.
at least I'm not the only nerd. That's the only thing.
No, this is great. I mean, you
No,
know,
yeah.
we're all nerds. You know, we wouldn't be
Yeah.
on here without it. You know,
Yeah.
it's good to
That's
be a
my
nerd.
theory. Everyone's a nerd or about their own little subculture world that they're interested in.
Well, I mean, good lord, what are we gonna sit here and watch? You know, TikTok videos or something? I mean, this is actually entertaining.
I
You
think
know.
TTB is on TikTok now,
Oh well,
from what
I'm
I gather.
sorry.
But yeah, we can follow them on other platforms if we're not on there. But anyway, thank
Right.
you
Anyway,
again.
thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
No problem.
And when's your next TTB show?
Oof. Probably not this year, unless they
Okay.
announce the fall tour in the southeast, which I think you're going to get the fall tour in the west, or they're going to Japan. That's or Europe. That's my. They probably wouldn't. They probably would have announced Europe by now. So probably whatever's going to happen in the fall.
Yeah, more. Yeah, yeah. Fall. We're waiting on fall,
Yeah, I
essentially,
think you're going to
and
get
maybe
it in
some
the
summer
West
shows
Coast.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to make the summer shows this year because conflict of interest, and they're not playing in the Carolinas. So you know,
Conflict of scheduling.
schedule it. Yeah,
Yeah.
my interest is there, but you know, I'm a family man, so
Yeah.
my family's interest is to have me
I
play.
got you. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
anyway, you got to juggle. So
Yeah. All right, my
anyway,
friend.
all right. You have a great night, Adam. Thanks
All right, you
again.
too. Thank you again. I appreciate it. Talk soon, Larry.
All right. Cheers.
Later. So there you go, episode 112 with Larry James, recapping Tedeschi Trucks Band in Savannah. That was super fun. I feel like I was there, as I have felt pretty much after doing all these recaps, feeling like I was at these shows. I haven't even listened to any of this show or heard any of this show yet, and I feel like I was there. Like the set list, it just jumps off the page. Um, so yeah, I'm looking forward to. I'm sure some stuff's gonna pop up even on YouTube and people posting and on Instagram, even if there's not a entire archive.org set list set recorded audio. But anyway, hope everyone is doing okay out there. Please check out at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram. Subscribe on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. I'll put out an audio version of this probably either tonight or tomorrow or this weekend at the very latest. I'm going to dump a bunch of clips as well from this episode, the last episode, and the one before that, I think with Alan Paul recapping in Pittsburgh. So I'll dump a bunch of clips on YouTube and Instagram and get some of those on Facebook and the various groups as well. Those are cool because there's always good sound bites from everyone who goes to these shows talking about their love for the band. Tedeschi Trucks Podcast is the YouTube channel. Please subscribe on there. AdamChoit.com for all my stuff. That's AdamChoit.com. TedeschiTrucksPodcast.com for all things for this show. TedeschiTrucksBand.com is their official website. They've redone their whole website. It looks awesome. Good job. Great job for everyone who's had a hand in doing that. I went to it a couple of times, so I'm still I need to dig in as well. And they have a new app as well. That stuff is all coming together and looking good. So dig in on that stuff. I know that's something the band and they've been working on, I'm sure, a lot behind the scenes. Sunday I'm gonna do Chicago recap of round two. 7 p.m. Eastern is the plan for that. Definitely also, I didn't even say at Tedeschi Trucks Band.com, buy merch, buy tickets, join the Swamp Family fan club as well, download the app, all that stuff. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Chicago recap. I mentioned, reach out if you want to come on the show. If you're going to any TTB shows upcoming this spring, this summer, let's talk. I want to get on as many people as I can. That this app will, StreamYard that I use for these streams will allow me to have on. I think I can get up to 10 people on here, but I don't know about that many. But I'm happy to get on a crew to talk about one show or get multiple people to talk on multiple different shows at the same time and see how that goes. I've done that, a little bit of that as well, trying to recap these residencies. But I think that's about all I got for today. I appreciate everyone listening. Thank you as always, and let's talk soon. Peace.